An important hearing. Thank you, Secretary Nuland. So I have a question and a concern. My question follows up at the very end of your dialogue with Senator Johnson. You said your belief would be that if Russia further invaded the country of Ukraine, that the Nord Stream pipeline would be suspended. And I want to pick up on that. The pipeline has been the subject of much controversy here. No one is pro-pipeline in the sense of making Russia happy, but we have allies that are important to us who are pro-pipeline, and the administration and the past administration have tried to balance that. Do you think our European allies, including those who've been more in the pro-pipeline camp, would find a Russian invasion of Ukraine so troubling that they would be willing to work together with us to either stop the pipeline from being certified, it's in a certification process, or stop the operation of the pipeline? In other words, would an invasion of Ukraine tip the balance so that our allies would join together with us to make sure that the Nord Stream pipeline was truly suspended, as you indicated?
I believe that it absolutely would, Senator. As you know, this is gratuitous anyway. They don't need any additional energy from Russia.
And the German government is brand new, so we're working with them on this issue. But again, without putting too many words in their mouth, because they are new, while the government in the past has been somewhat pro-pipeline, your view of the new government is they would view a Russian invasion of Ukraine as sufficiently dire that would cause them to maybe reassess the pluses and minuses of the Nord Stream pipeline from their standpoint.
So the President's having his first opportunity today, perhaps even as we speak, to speak with Olaf Scholz now that he is Chancellor, as Chancellor Scholz. So we'll have a better sense of that, but I would say that we have already been speaking to him in his role as finance minister, and I have no doubt that he understands the seriousness of the situation that we are facing.
Now I want to raise a concern that I have, and I want you to tell me whether my concern is a fair one, but I'm going to be particularly happy if you actually tell me that I don't need to be concerned about this. So I have a concern, but maybe I needn't have a concern. We've talked about the crushing sanctions that could fall upon Russia should they push west in a military invasion of Ukraine. And we've talked about the kinds of sanctions that we might contemplate together with our allies. My concern is this: if the United States and the West's response to a military invasion is sanctions, but no military response. Obviously, we're providing military aid to Ukraine, and we've been generous in that way, but if we are not willing to help a Ukrainian military that's 50,000 people matched up against Russia, I would think that China would conclude, boy, the West sure isn't going to come to the aid of Taiwan if we were to do something on Taiwan. Because China would conclude we're much more militarily powerful than Russia is, and the status questions about Taiwan and sovereignty are a little bit murkier than those about Ukraine. And there's no NATO in the Indo-Pacific. We have allies in the Indo-Pacific, but we don't have a NATO with a charter with a self-defense article. I think China would determine if the West's response to a military invasion went as far as sanctions but no further, that the United States and other nations would be extremely unlikely to use military force to counter a military invasion of Taiwan. And I think Taiwan would likely conclude the same thing. So I'm very concerned about that. And I wonder, is that a fair concern that I have about how the Chinese and the Taiwanese would view the West's unwillingness to provide more significant military support to stop an invasion by Russia? Is my concern a fair one, or is my concern overwrought?
Senator, in this setting, I would simply say that this is a moment of testing, and I believe that both autocrats around the world and our friends around the world will watch extremely carefully what we do, and it will have implications for generations.
And those implications could go far beyond Ukraine.
They could go well beyond Europe, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator